On your YouTube video resolution, be sure to select at least 480. This is a street area near my house where there's a mall, and I'm walking across the street here, and what you'll notice is there is a chopper that I'm not sure what type it is, maybe a fire or something, but I got this impression, because they do this often, that he was looking at me or following me. And the reason I'm showing this sequence is because it shows how that the chopper took an interest in me. You can see it actually heads off its path, which was heading out west there, and it circles around. And so what you're seeing here is that it's circling slowly around. And that's why I'm taping this, because I started bringing my video camera, because I realized I should catch some of this showing that these helicopters actually do this. They actually seem to fly by or near me or start like zooming in or watching, and you get that impression as a general matter. And you see he just looped around there, and then what you'll see next is he goes on his course there, but you know, it's like, why did he loop around there and fly directly over me? I mean, I realize some people could say that was just a coincidence, but you know, I think that shows that there's something out of the ordinary happening. It doesn't prove it, but I think it shows it, because over time, if there was enough of that, I could make a case that they're specifically targeting me. And notice that's not a police helicopter. That's probably a fire helicopter or police rescue ambulance helicopter. But I think that they're all interconnected. The fire department, the police department, I think that they all are working under the same leadership, essentially, which I believe is the reptilian leadership. And there's the chopper. It comes out on the other side of the building. It's kind of hard to see there. It's in the distance, and the camera doesn't always focus. Canon, but you know, that shows. This is a zoom that I did where I speed up, and you can see it loop around here. You see it loop, and then it goes on its way. And here's a chopper that just flies by my window, and just an example. You can see it kind of hard through the screen there, but that's just one example of how they fly by. And here we have definitely a fire chopper, and it is, or maybe, I don't know, it's like a Coast Guard fire chopper, I'm not sure exactly, but anyway, there's a fire meeting apparently. Yeah, we're American reptoids, god dang it. And you'll see in a second. I know it sounds paranoid, but that's the impression that I got, that the fire department is kind of, they're in on it. The fire department, the police department, they're all part of the same deal. Now here's this chopper, and what you're going to see in a second is that it doesn't just hover there. And by the way, when I zoomed in on it, there was a bunch of these micro UFOs, and I'll point that out a little bit later on. We're using zero doubt, but they're so small here that I didn't want to show it, because it looks like a little tiny blur or a bird or something. But you'll see them all around. There's a little one, you might have seen it there. The resolution on YouTube is probably pretty bad. But now here's the thing with this chopper, and this is why this is included, is that you'll notice it was stationary there, and then notice how he stays with me. You see this? He stays with me. He's got the sideways motion, but see how he tracks with me? See how he's moving along with me? And the way he circled me in the beginning. So there definitely, you can see there was something, and then there was a police interceptor following just a little bit further as I was driving down the road. Here I zoom in a little bit so you can see him. And I get this a lot, you know. I mean, I don't make too big of a deal out of it. I mean, it's just, you know, I know they do this, but this is just to show some of the activity that I get. And here's one of the micro UFOs that you'll notice. You get these little tiny things, and they're not a bird and they're not a plane, and it's like I think that what they are spy orbs, but they might even be, you know, small aliens that they have recruited to be their little spy guys, but these might also be just remote little orbs, and they have the invisibility cloak from the gravity technology that they've gotten from the aliens. Either that or the aliens are using it for them. But you can't see this when you're shooting it, and you can't see it live because they're invisible. And here is a example of a helicopter that they like to follow me if I go downtown. I think the police headquarters might be downtown or something. And this is an example of how they like to circle over me and fly over me. And you get the impression as you see this that it is directed at me. And the reason why he doesn't keep circling around to follow me is because he knows I'm filming. They know when you're filming. That's what I figured out. They can see it. They know. They have spy orbs or whatever, but they know when you're filming. And this is more example of helicopters flying overhead, and this near my apartment, and they'll circle around, and I just show how what they'll do a lot of times is they'll just circle around my apartment and just keep circling, and you know they have a perfectly legitimate excuse. There's a school right there. They're always looking for people. But if you noticed how much the activity increased and how often they do this, plus the night raids, you'll really get the picture. Okay, so here's New Year's Day 2014, and it's a New Year's Day, so no one's out. Everything's very quiet, and these guys went ballistic. And here's where you're going to see the micro UFOs, and I'll show you that in a second. But here you'll notice that this guy, these police and police helicopters were circling directly over my house, and you can see from the curvature of the flight path of the helicopter that there's zero doubt that it's circling directly overhead. So you can see that the circle angle is right over my apartment. And now here's little micro UFOs, and I'm going to show you in a second and prove to you that these are actually little micro metal spy orbs of some kind, or just little micro UFOs. I don't know for sure what they are. They may even be aliens. Looks like a bird here, doesn't it? But watch carefully. I'll keep showing this. See? That's the same object further up as it moves past the helicopter there. You see it moving here like that, and I'll do several zoom ins so that you can really see it. But there's no question, it's a little metal object. You can fully see the light refracting off of it. And here it is coming slow, and you'll see, you may mistake it for a bird, but even then, if you were to analyze it up close, you'd be able to tell it wasn't. But see right there, you can see, it's definitely, it looks like one of those kind of a pea or jello mold shaped UFOs, but they're tiny. I would say that that's maybe 1.5 feet in diameter at the most. Actually, just looking at that, I would say it's maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 inches in diameter. But it could be bigger, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how far it is behind the helicopter. It looks like it's not more than 3 or 4 feet away, maybe 5 feet away as it comes to its closest point from the helicopter. But there's no question there is a metal object there, and it has a roundish shape, like a muffin shape. So you can't see there, but when it comes right here, bam, see? It's like a little metal pod of some kind. And again, you cannot see these with the naked eye because they're using the gravity technology and invisibility, which makes it so that you can't see it. But when you video it, then it shows up in the video. So if they want to fly these little spy orbs or whatever they are, they're probably all over the place. I mean, they're probably right out there on my patio a lot of times when I look out. They're just there all the time. I mean, and it's interesting. I mean, if they're making that much expenditure over this, it's really quite something to see. Oh yeah, and here you can see the occupants of this police helicopter looking at me, and you can see the passenger in the back and the passenger in the front, and then the pilot behind him. And you can see that they are definitely looking directly at me as they are circling directly overhead. And the question you have to ask yourself is why? What's their interest? What's this fascination? Why are they doing this? And like I said, this is a year after I started uploading Reptilian Shapeshifter movies, so it's quite fascinating. And here's up close. You can see it almost looks like a female there in the back, but I can't tell. And a Caucasian male in the passenger seat, and I can't see because it's too dark, the pilot. But I know that the pilot is actually in the right-hand seat because you'll see the passenger there. He'll use binoculars and so forth during the flight, which means that the other person is obviously driving. And just so you know, this was more activity than I had gotten in a while. Sometimes they go on these flurries of activity when something really pisses them off, and that's because that was the first orgonite that I had made. And if you don't know what orgonite is, please look on YouTube, type in orgonite, and there's a really fascinating bunch of stuff about it. And they really seem to go ape over it and really get upset. They like to tell me when they're mad at me because now I'm their attention, I'm their entertainment. This is the security reptoids have someone to go after. I'm right in plain sight. I'm not bothering to hide. I use my real name. This is zooming in. You see the guy using the binoculars there. You see that? And here I show a sped up version of the many times that this guy in this LAPD helicopter circles around directly over my apartment. And you can see this is all one cut. This is all one scene, not cut. And you can just see he goes around and around and around and around. It's like they want to express more strongly, that they're pissed about this, and that's what led me to believe. I haven't done a full scientific test yet on the orgonite, but that's what gave me encouragement that this is something that is really working, because they were really going ape over this. They buzz me, like I said, on a daily basis. Some days they don't, and sometimes activity drops off for a little while. But if I'm making a movie, they'll really go crazy. But with this orgonite, they buzz me. This is for a full 15 minutes. It was extraordinary. And so again, this is still the sped up, just showing that they just went around and around and around. You can see the loop is right over my apartment. So you can see that there's definite activity. And then he started getting a little bit mad about it seems like. And he's taking it pretty well. And next I show the angle that he was dive bombing me at, sped up, so you can see the curvature. And you can also see it's directly over my balcony. These are the key facts concerning the Los Angeles Police Department reaction to my Reptilian Shapeshifter movie uploads. Upon uploading my first Reptilian Shapeshifting movie called Reptilian Matrix Message, January 14th, 2013, literally within minutes of uploading it, my house was surrounded with helicopters, 7 or more, hovering for a prolonged period directly above my apartment. From that time until now, 1 year later, this helicopter presence has continued over my house and following me wherever I go on a daily basis. Police and other unmarked helicopters buzz my house, which is starting to be heard at a distance, then flying overhead and passing by low with noise and vibration. There is zero doubt it is directed at me, and zero doubt that it is not that I became paranoid at every unrelated helicopter that flies by. It is absolutely beyond doubt to send me a message that my Reptilian Shapeshifter movie uploads are not to be tolerated. On several occasions, and continues currently, I have been awoken at night, usually around 12 a.m., by loud chopping of helicopter blades. And I also oftentimes got a strange spasm of my leg muscles, which scared me a lot, And at first I thought it was just a fear tension reaction, but later I realized there was more to it, like it was some kind of attack. Such weaponry and tactics are published in the book The Body Snatchers by Susan Reed. Helicopters follow my vehicle at various times, often crossing in front so that I can see the shadow, believe it or not, and pass in front of my windshield so that I am sure to see I am being flanked by helicopters overhead. I believe this is done to apply continuous pressure on me to make clear that my YouTube uploads are not to go unpunished. Police helicopters will follow me down the street and when I get out of my car, and will continually circle and follow me. I realize this sounds like classic paranoia, but I am confident if any persons rode with me, they would also see that this is really happening. Police interceptors and squad cars will tail me and also pull over the driver directly in front of me with lights and siren, another obvious attempt to put me on edge. However, this police car activity diminished after I installed a dashboard camera and uploaded a movie showing this illegal police activity along with some reptilian shapeshifting to show what this police harassment was about. That upload was entitled, "Your Taxes for My Reptilian LAPD Escort." As I reported 3 months into this on April 1st at 6 p.m., 4 LAPD officers showed up at my door asking for the previous tenant of my apartment, then gone for 8 months. My witness of this event is, I could tell this was not about the previous tenant, but my reptilian shapeshifter YouTube uploads, and these police officers at my door knew that I knew. Because I am lawful with no prior criminal convictions, they do not have means with which to harass me further. But clearly, any such history would be used against any such persons who discover reptilian shapeshifters and start going public. I determined that by whatever means, they are able to see everything I am doing inside my house, probably using remote viewers, which are government-trained psychics which can leave their physical body at will and see and hear anyone, anytime, instantly, wherever they are. This I could determine by helicopter buzzing of my house in direct timely response to certain activities, largely reptilian shapeshifter movie making. So this police attention and harassment means the following. Clearly, this uploading of reptilian shapeshifter movies for public viewing is a threat to these creatures, or else they would not conduct this entire campaign against me. There is no way they would spend all this time and money, complete with apparent 24-hour surveillance and tracking, if this visual information exposure was not a real threat. It more than likely means the entire Los Angeles Police Department is controlled by, if not consisting entirely of, these reptilians, or else someone in the department might get suspicious at all the activity regarding me who has no criminal activity. That being the case, and from other information available through simple observation and control, is not just of law enforcement, but probably in every state of the Union and also military and government, given that many people before me have discovered what is going on, for instance with the highly illegal and evil activities of the CIA, and for no court or public battle whatsoever change a single thing of the power structure of America. Given the extreme evil nature and highly competent covert control over every institution, especially the news media, including all radio and television, many people thinking about this, including myself, have realized one startling fact. The persons who are truly running the world government must not be human beings, but either aliens, fallen angels, serpents, tall grays, whatever. The point is that other than human beings are at the root of the control and implementation of what I believe is a covert dictatorship, which only minds and technology above human capability could keep such control of. I am saying I think humans are not capable of keeping this kind of non-human control of Earth a secret, nor would humans ultimately, if they were in charge, consent to it, that their fellow man be ignorant and slaves to non-human beings from other planets. There is no military secret worth it for humans to keep from other humans the fact that the universe is filled with sentient life, both friendly and hostile, and would, if they were in charge, inform their fellow human beings. I would say, however, that human beings who wallow in sin, self-destructiveness, and denial of their Creator and His Word, the authorized King James Bible, are in fact a reason this evil and ridiculous conspiracy and truth embargo could continue to exist for this long. Because with such advanced technology, the question is, why don't they rule Earth openly, as it would seem they could quickly and completely take control of the surface, as opposed to underground, off-world, or disguising themselves as human. The rumors and testimony of persons describing the usage of human beings, especially as food, the picture I have arrived at is a stupefied and asleep human population is actually most beneficial to these creatures, which are understood to have such sentient parasite operations on 18 other planets in the area, and are likened to cattle ranchers whose lives revolve around the care and control of the cattle. I realize this is a shocking and incredible conspiracy conclusion. However, it cannot be said to be illogical and mindless or paranoid given the corroborating witnesses and general observable facts regarding our world, such as the Roswell cover-up, which most people by now are aware of the fact that this was definitely a cover-up of something, and likely aliens from outer space, and why would the government want to hide this amazing and revealing fact for human beings? There's no military secret that's worth it. Given that it would be quite easy to dispose of me by undetectable beam heartstopper or faked accident, and given now I've personally talked with several people who for exposing reptilians have been literally thrown in jail and beaten, and it seems others killed for this or for exposing other government secrets, and given how long and consistent the campaign has been against me, I concluded that if they could have killed me, they would have by now. While I cannot say for certain, there was the death of a famous actor recently, Paul Walker, who played a police officer in the Fast and Furious movie series, who died in a strange car accident, crashing into the only gas line in the area and burning alive, trapped in the crashed vehicle. About this time I read in the scripture, Psalm 27:2, "When the wicked, even mine enemies and foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell." Think about it. Would humans come to eat up someone's flesh? No, but the wicked enemies and foes in this case are beasts, who in fact do eat humans on a regular basis. But remember, it is God who has given unruly people to be eaten, as His word clearly says. Jeremiah 12:9, "Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field. Come to devour." Can't miss that word, devour. Right? The sense I got was that Paul Walker was a serpent who might have been sent to dispose of me by eating my flesh, and the accident was their stumbling which God caused. I understand serpents are the wisest of the beasts, and if you do not want to be foolish, I recommend having your eyes open to the code of the scripture and not go by your own logic or my logic, but the logic of God who made both of us. As you are probably aware, there are serpents who wisely have converted themselves according to that code, which alone transforms from foolish to wise. And now this is what the excitement is all about. This is the director of Blade Runner, Ridley Scott, who upon closer examination shows the reptilian slit eyes. There's the public perception of what people are, and then there's what you can see upon closer examination. In my opinion, these beings, perhaps hybrids or perhaps not, but in any case are a physical race that has the same drive and desire to survive as any sentient race. And in order to survive here on Earth, or for whatever their reasons are, they appear as human. And I believe that these reptilians that are called serpents have an elite, and that elite are called dragons, and they are more powerful, and the dragon symbol is prominently displayed throughout the movie Blade Runner, and even the theme of serpents, and the owl is primarily displayed and is known to be a symbol of the serpents. In scene 29, there's some serious shape-shifting. This bath scene will start with the hand, and his hand starts turning into all kinds of strange shapes. In particular, you'll see in this example the two center fingers weld together. Keep in mind again that the pixels and blurring is an unfortunate side effect of zooming in on what is really a much smaller shot. And if you'll keep watching here, you'll notice that the two center fingers will weld together, and you'll also notice that the end finger there starts turning into a bulb of some kind, and then you'll also notice a interesting curving shape at the top. Now you see there the fingers, the two center fingers definitely weld together, and I'll go back and forth over this so that you can see it more clearly. And here I'm going to go back and forth a little bit slower. This is forward. Right there, boom, see? Two center fingers come together. And it's really quite odd why that would occur. Okay, so let me explain a little bit what's going on here in this shot. And this is Harrison Ford's hand on this bath here. And you can see the four fingers. However, if you were to look at it more carefully, you would notice that it seems a little odd. For instance, the knuckles don't seem quite right, but you might say, well, this is the hand that he damaged, but actually it's I think it's the other one. But in any case, you'll just notice that there's a strange shape to these knuckles here, and you'll see this sort of bulbous shape to the pinky here, and it has kind of a sharp point down here. And what you'll find when you scrub through the slider is that these two fingers here are going to weld at the bottom, so that instead of two fingers here, you're going to get one finger. Or at least it looks like his hand is turning into something else, and what I think it is his true reptilian shape. And in action moments or areas where there's not as much light, for some reason you'll notice the shape shifting more, and because this bath scene is a little bit dark. So I'm going to scrub the slider now, and you're going to notice those two fingers welding at the bottom. Okay, first that's one frame, and then in the next frame, that's another one, and then boom. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. And so what you'll notice is here that this area here has apparently lumped together, and you can see all these sort of strange, like a slight discoloration and texture to this area as well as up here. And then look at this bulb here on this pinky. And then the kind of a sharp tip down here. And I believe what we're looking at here is the hand starting to turn into a large digit, large fingered reptilian beast of some kind. And so look at that again. Switches back. See, it just switches to a regular hand, and then back to this solid form shape. And you'll notice that the pinky also changes shape quite a bit from one frame to the next. See, it's much fatter here than it is here. See how it welds together? And I've seen that before, where you see the flesh, it just, for whatever reason, if it was a hologram, and it might be, or a form of hologram, but it seems like it wouldn't have a flow of texture. I noticed the same thing on John McLaughlin's glasses. The flesh seemed to drip and wrap around, almost as though it had a physical texture, whereas if it was a hologram, it wouldn't stick and wrap to a solid form. And the sticking and wrapping is interacting with a solid form as though it is a solid material. So it's almost like if it was a hologram, it's a solid, dripping, wrapping sort of hologram. But I think what you're seeing here with Harrison's hand is that it starts to turn back into its reptilian shape, and what you're seeing by this bulbous shape here is the true thickness of this digit of his hand, which is actually not a human being. It's a reptilian creature that, as I've said, my best guess is it's the serpents from the Garden of Eden. And this may be, when you see this thing in its full reptilian form, you may see like three large thick fingers with a big claw at the end, or maybe not. I don't know. I have no idea what it really looks like, because I haven't seen one fully transformed. But I think that this might be the physical form of the spiritual form of demons. And demons are disembodied reptilian spirits that attach themselves or dwell in human bodies. And so this is their living race. So demons aren't just these spiritual, flimsy, transparent ghosts that come up from hell, but they actually have a physical form race. So it might be the serpents from the Garden of Eden, the same ones. And remember, this happens in a single frame change, so that's why no one notices it. But you see, this is not a 3D special effect. There's no flesh morphing, shape-shifting in the Blade Runner script. See? It's welding. It welds in a single frame. And you can see it's almost like it has a texture. There's almost like right in here, it looks like there's and I've seen this before, like a pockmark or a crater. And it's hard to see what else is going on here, because this is zoomed in on a much smaller shot, so the pixels are spread apart, and that's why you're getting the blurring. But you can definitely see you can see the separation of the fingers here, and then you see it's like there's still a canyon here, but then it just it gets lumped into a solid form. And then this sort of strange curvature right here. And if you're wondering if it's just a matter of focus, well, you can still see the edge of the bathtub. I mean, it is slightly blurred because like I said, the pixels are spread apart from zooming in on a much smaller scene, but you can still make out the edge of the bathtub, and the texture looks like maybe holes in it, and you can still make out the general shape of the hand. See, when you go like this, despite a careful observation shows that there's something a little funky, but it's still, on initial glance, this looks like a normal hand, in focus enough to see that it's a normal hand. You can see knuckles, you can see the individual fingers, and you can see that it's gripping the side of the bathtub. So then how come in the next frame, which also, all of this is not out of focus, but this appears to be welded together. And this has a strange lump shape to it. And if this is the end of his finger, where's the fingernail? And it just looks, altogether it looks strange. It doesn't look like a human being. And that's because I don't think it is. There it is. You see, it looks like some sort of flesh welding into a lump of some kind. Here you'll notice that his hands also start shape-shifting quite a bit with these lumps, and it's hard to say what we're actually looking at, but you see these odd lumps that are obviously not in the hands that you're going to see most of the time, like if you run into Harrison or you see him in a talk show or something like that, or obviously in well-lit scenes where there's enough light on his hands, and you'll get these lumps, and at the end looks like a claw of some kind, or maybe a nail. And in the dark, you could say that that's just the finger disappearing into the darkness, but you can see that there's definitely a sharp point on the end. And you can see many of these little nodules and surfaces that are quite strange. As you look at it, you can look closely and you'll see these little shapes like craters and holes. And then it looks like all of his fingers weld together, all of the main fingers besides his thumb, and it's really quite strange. It's like they all weld together suddenly. So it's weird. What could we be looking at? Why would it do that? Is that somehow he's halfway shape-shifting into his reptilian form? And I go a little bit faster here, so kind of more comprehensive. You can see, remember that these changes are only frame by frame, so you will not notice this just looking at it for the most part, because if the changes are a single frame, that's faster than the human eye and mind can perceive. Another mysterious shapeshift where it looks like his middle finger turns into a short stubby thing with a claw, and you'll see that in just a second. It's like it sticks out, but it's like this little tiny stubby thing. And then here in this next frame, the next frame coming up, you'll see a little nail will stick out. See? Look at that little nail sticking out of there. It's really weird. I mean, it wasn't there a few frames ago, and then all of a sudden it's sticking out, and that's probably the beginning of his real hand, or his reptilian form hand, you might say. And it's just kind of weird how his hand looks like some sort of claw, and then here at the very end, it's like this. You can see the middle finger is a strange shape. You'll notice throughout Blade Runner, the dragon symbol is shown so many times. There shouldn't be any doubt as to who they want you to know made this movie. Okay, and here you'll notice Harrison's claws come out, and you'll notice here sort of a strange shape to his finger, and you'll see there again the point finger. Look at how thin that is, and then look at that. And then look at her chest. Something a little strange there. You'll notice something comes out of her thumb there. Some of these things you don't notice, and you just flip the frames one by one. Here in the Dangerous Days, which is the making of the film, Harrison's eyeball does a strange flip, and I've seen this in a few other things. Also, if you look at his thumb there, notice the end. See? It looks almost like a frog or an amphibian of some kind. Okay, for this dark doorway scene, you got to be sure and look at the work print, because they edited the reptilian footage out of the newer one with the post-editing, so you won't see the reptilian tiles. And here's the original scene. Can't see anything at normal brightness, but when you brighten it up and slow it down. Now, the thing to make clear is that he is in fact wearing an oxygen mask. That's not the issue. The issue is that his reptilian shapeshifting is coming right through the clear mask, and you can see the reptilian tiles on his face. But you can see the little blue respirator there. And so it is in fact a mask, but you don't see it so much in the original footage, which they had to do a lot of post-editing on, because the strap doesn't show up, because his flesh seems to grow over it, and the lumps cannot be attributed to motion or frame echo. And furthermore, in this forward shot, in this dark area right above his nose and mouth, you can see these lines that look like, here it is, see, it looks like it looks like tiles or something. See right here, you see these little lines there, and it looks like a reptilian mouth, and it's a strange dark area. I mean, you got to ask yourself, does that look normal? I think it's a serpent. See those lines on his mouth? Does that look like just an oxygen mask? And then where's the blue thing now for some reason? And this line is the I believe the dividing line for his transforming face, even though it's the same line that the mask is on. You see, the little blue thing that's part of the respirator is almost non-existent, because the shape-shifting of the reptilian is obscuring it. And so what you're seeing is the tiles around its mouth. That's what you're seeing. I mean, see, there's no explanation for those bumps right there other than reptilian shape-shifting. That's the mouth of the reptile. Come on, you're going to tell me that those lumps there are caused by an oxygen mask? See? It's not an oxygen mask altogether. What's happening, so that you're not confused, is that there is a respirator there, but apparently the shape-shifting is overwhelming it. And then you see the obvious. Now, if you compare this footage to the post-edited footage, you can see they edited out all those bumps, and it looks a lot cleaner, and you can see the strap. Okay, so here's a comparison of the American Theater and the work print, and I don't have it 100% lined up perfectly, but pretty close, but the distance from the camera to the TV is the same. And you'll notice that of course it's a lot cleaner. They cleaned up in the post-production quite a bit, but you'll notice the little blue thing there is quite a bit more visible. And on the work print, you'll notice not only do you not see the blue as much, but it's almost like it seems to disappear somewhat. But you can really see those tiles on the mouth there. You see that on the work print? And what you'll also notice too is that even in the cleaned up American Theater version, the mask that's supposed to be over his mouth doesn't make sense, because it looks like it's cut off partially. But again, the smoking gun is the tiles that you start to see here, and you see this is the same frame, and you don't see that in the American Theater version, the one they cleaned up post-production. And you'll notice also the little blue thing is almost non-existent in the work print. Look at that. See, there's no blue thing. In fact, you hardly even see any blue, and yet you see pretty much everything else that's in the other one. And that's in the work print there, you'll see the tiles that really are the telltale. And I think what's happening in this case, as also the little blue thing seems to be so obscured, is that the shape-shifting is overtaking it so that you don't see that little blue thing as much. But you'll notice, see in the comparison with the American Theater version, you don't see those bumps, and that's another smoking gun. If this was a motion blur and this frame-by-frame comparison, you would see those little bumps. But you don't see any little bumps in the American Theater version. If that was just a blur from the reflection, how come you don't see it in the American Theater version? So what happened is there was shape-shifting, it obscured part of the mask, and they cleaned it up in the final shot. Alright, now this is some startling shape-shifting footage here with this dancer chick. And here you'll see what looks like some sort of bone coming out. And it didn't seem to me as though that was an in-between frame. Could possibly be, but there's more going on here, as you'll see in a minute. Also, here's this strange dripping. Also, look at these muscles on her arm. It's almost like another form is coming through, and you don't notice this. And look at this bump on her back. It's really quite interesting. It'll shrink down. You'll see kind of like a grid pattern you see there for a second, then it's gone. See? There it is, and then it's gone. And also her face, you'll notice, has a really weird shape too. But look at that bump. You'll see these anomalies on the face. You see that sort of thing sticking out? It's kind of weird. Now look at this shape that you'll see on the leg. See that? It's like her flesh almost curls around. Take a look at this. It's like rivulating. It's warping. See, that's not a human muscle shape at all. I mean, there's nothing a human can do to make themselves look like that. And then here the back splits open. This is really wild. You can see that along the edges there, it's like the flesh comes open for just a second. It's really weird. And you can also see, it's hard to see it in this shot, but there's these little vertebrae things in there. And here you get these lumps sticking out. Look at these bumps. And this arm is pretty interesting here. The same thing, you'll notice like part of the skeleton is coming out. Whatever it is. You see this form coming out here is not human. You see, this is not a normal muscle shape. If you look at it from the outside, you can see this isn't quite normal looking. And you can see it also here. Look at this arm. Look at these shapes here. Just look at this area here. You see like this ridge area. Then you see this shape here. Almost looks like the same bone shape that was coming out on the knee. Okay, and then here you get this lump coming out of her back. And in the halfway shot where that lump is smaller, you can see these vertebra-like shapes. So you'll notice it has 3 stages. That's the fully extruded stage, and there's the vertebra shape. See if I can zoom in on that, and you'll also notice the face. Let me just get that. You can see these sort of, we're getting some moire effect from the TV, but you can see this, you can see these shapes here, these like a vertebra sort of shape. See, it looks like bone segments. Zoom out so you can see it a little bit better. So you see, and what's interesting too is that is supposedly the leotard that she's wearing. See, it's all that's supposed to be all covering her entire back. So that leads me to believe, and I've seen from other examples too, that the shape-shifting goes right through clothing, almost like the clothing doesn't exist. Notice also her face in this far shot. Look at this shape here. And you see these, almost looks like a skeletal face. These strange shapes here. See, altogether, when you look at it, there's something not quite normal about it. Okay, just watch this thing coming out of her back. Look at that lump. There it goes to the vertebra shape. And then in the next frame it completely disappears again. But look at the face. Also, if you'll notice too, there's this shape right here. It's kind of strange, and the face is unrecognizable. There's a dark area here, and see, this looks like maybe this is the reptoid mouth. This is the mouth of the reptoid. You see, because the face is turned towards us, and so you should see the nose. You should see a more recognizable shape here, but it looks strange. You see, like this light here indicates there's some sort of hard shape here besides the jaw, and then you get like these strange lips-like. So whatever it is, it just pops right out of the material that's supposed to be the leotard. It's really quite weird. And then also in this facial shot here in the front, you'll notice that there's a seemingly strange sort of configuration. The mouth seems to be gone almost, and then there's this sort of odd shape here. And then in this frame here, you really see this strange sort of overall shape to it, and a texture here. That and you see this lump here. And you see, all together, this doesn't look normal right here. This whole segment of her face, and you can see there's like a shape that sticks out here. So here's that shape a little closer, but you kind of have to ask yourself, where's the mouth? You see, in the nose almost looks like it's reduced down, and I know that she's supposed to have black spray paint sprayed right here, but you have to ask yourself, what is this shape here, and this pointiness, and where's the mouth? You see how odd that looks. Okay, and here you're going to see the leg muscles really do something strange here. Okay, so you see the flesh waving, almost like it's opening up here. And there's this big kind of a ravine shape here. And it's hard to tell what's going on up here, although it seems like there's these strange shapes, but I mean it's harder to make anything out. But here you can really see that there's like this opening up of the So this shot is out of focus to some degree because of the motion, but here you'll notice the back splits open, and as I put it here you can see it better, and this is really weird. This is her back. You see, this is where the buttocks should be. Well, that's where it is. That's where obviously where the legs are, and here's the shoulders. And you see, even though, remember, she's wearing a leotard, you see this split. And at first I thought maybe it might have something to do with the cabling, because I know that she had a little tie-on plastic add-on that the explosive was put into so that her stomach can blow up when Deckard shoots her through the back or through the stomach. And but if you look at this, there's no reason why all of this is the back. And furthermore, you can see these little vertebra shapes. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 that I can see. And then there's this other dark shape here. I can't make out really what it is, but you can definitely see that there is a edge here, and you see like a lightning. And that's, I don't know how easy it's going to be to see in the final shot of this, but you can see that it's almost like the flesh is moving aside in that same sort of dripping, opening up fashion, as though it's like rubber that gets melted or peeled aside. Here's zoomed in, and once again the focus is not going to be that great because it's a motion shot. But you can see enough to see, you see this, I don't know if you can see this discoloration here, this red, and then I don't know if you can make it out, and it is kind of hard to make out, but there's these shapes here that have a repetitive fashion. And remember, this is the back where the leotard's supposed to be, a solid one-piece leotard. So I don't know what else would be back here. Doesn't make sense that that's the crotch showing a motion blur of a darkened area, because you can see this area here is basically in focus. It's not really, this isn't a spread, and not only that, you see a definite line right here of whatever this is. I think this right here is some aspect of the shape-shifting. Okay, and here we see these lumps, and this one down here I can't see because it's too dark, but this one you can really see, and it's like almost looks like a spine piece. Okay, now this is so weird that I almost didn't include it, but after looking at it as many times as I have, I want to show you that there appears to be a ghosting image of a face coming out, and I could see it after a while of looking at it. And even if you brighten it up, it's hard to tell. You really would have to shoot it and look at it yourself, and probably impossible to see on YouTube. But here it is enlarged, and what looks like a face of some kind actually coming out in a ghosting image, and I can't see exactly what it is, but it is weird, and I have no idea what it is. Probably someone would say it's a demon coming out, but the head appears to be facing down, and you can see what appears to be eyes. But I mean, I have no idea what that is. I mean, it could be some feature of the reptilian, but I do know that there's something there. It's not just nothing. There's definitely something there. What that is exactly, I have no idea. And could be that the true being is a giant reptile. And this is interesting. You can barely see it, so you have to brighten it up. But there's like a bulb there where her wrist is, and you see the claws. It's almost like the true size of the being is showing through, and it like starts to bulge out in that bulb. It's really quite interesting.
How can it not know what it is?
Okay, so here it is close up a bit. Let's see if I can get it without the... And then you get this, see this ball right here? And then you get these definite claw-like shapes. And see, here's the wrist, and then the ball comes out like this, like a bulge. And then the claws, you can see almost like in this area here, it's kind of darker. And then you can see the form of these sharp area. You see that same thing down here. It's like it's turning into its claw hand. There's a far shot of it.
We're stupid and we'll die.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Now check this out. From a far shot, you'll notice here that you get that bulge in her neck, and this is apparently a reptilian feature. You'll see this bulb sticking out of her neck, and these things sometimes will only show up in a far shot, which of course is grainy. And you'll notice the whole shape of her head in this shot too. It's really kind of strange. In fact, up by her forehead, you'll notice these, it looks like bumps. And here's Obama, just to point out the same thing on him. His neck looks like it has some sort of bulge of some kind. And I think this is a physical feature of the serpents, reptiles. See, when the shot comes together, you see that bump. And this also is on the making of the film Dangerous Days, so you might not find this footage on any of your normal copy of Blade Runner. See, it really sticks out there. And look at the forehead. You see those bumps? See, I think those bumps on the forehead, that's a reptilian feature. Okay, here in this scene where the Harrison character shoots this woman in the back, it's kind of interesting because there's potential for it to be full of symbology, and I think that this scene right here is almost like, it could be, maybe it's not, but it looks like they're saying anger towards angels. You know, they want to shoot an angel because the jacket there looks almost like it's a angel wings. It just has that look to it.
They're ugly. In my belief system, and I'm only taking responsibility for me, they're ugly.
And here, you'll see the woman's face is really distorted, and I think it's because she's like, in moments of stress, they start turning into their reptilian form. And look at this grotesque face. Look at the nose is like off center, and you see these face bumps, and the mouth starts to get large, and the eye looks like weird, like it's like weird and slanty. And I think if this is something like what they look like, you can sure as hell see why they hide what they really look like behind advanced technology. And here again, see, I think this is the reptile face of the actual creature coming through. I mean, this is just astounding. I mean, look at how ugly that thing is. What's difficult to wrap your head around is how that could be the real face when the flesh face looks so real. But I think that's the challenge that, we're faced, is that you have to believe it, because why else would the other features be there? All right, now in this scene is some extraordinary shape-shifting, again, from Harrison Ford. And I'm going to start off first here with the very strange hand that you'll see. And if you notice here, you'll see these strange long things stick out. See that thing right there? It doesn't even look like a reptoid claw. I mean, it's almost like it's just some sort of strange stick. It's just weird. Maybe it's because it's a partial extrusion of that shape. And you also see the flesh looks stripped away from the finger in a single shot. But look at that narrow thing sticking out there. And it looks like there might be something next to it too, although that could be an in-between motion shot of the same thing. But there's definitely more than one of them. And if you look really carefully too, you'll see also it looks like little hairs or something shooting out of it. But it's just difficult to know what it is. And here is the stripped flesh, or maybe it's the reptoid claw coming out on the end, and then the flesh becomes bulbous. And also there's this weird little, almost like a twig flower shadow there. And see, look, it looks like his pointing finger there. It's almost like it's stripped of all of its flesh, and it's just like this strange twig. It's really weird. I mean, who knows what that is? Who knows what their hands really look like? But there's one thing I can tell you. It ain't human, whatever it is. Okay, now look at this one here, where the eye and his whole face just starts morphing, but in particular you can track the notch that's above his eye and a little bump beneath his eye. And you can really see it changing and morphing. Furthermore, you'll notice to the right of all that, these two bumps. See, look at the difference in the way that looks now to the way it looked at the beginning of the scene. See, the notch is almost non-existent. Make a note of how big those are now, and remember it's the same face. See, See, look at the shape of the notch and how big it is now. And look, there's no eyebrow. That's what's really weird. See, it's like as he starts to transform into his reptilian shape, there's a complete disappearance of the eyebrow. And you'll see this notch gets bigger. And remember, these changes are happening in a frame-by-frame situation. See, there's all kinds of anomalies showing up. There's a crater, there's bumps. But I mean, if you were to take that face out in the broad daylight, it wouldn't look anything like Harrison Ford. See, what's that lump underneath his eye? Do you think that wouldn't show up? I mean, look at how big that is now, and look at the size of the notch. It's huge. And it's totally morphed. Okay, that's total flesh morphing. And my feeling is, if it was a hologram, it wouldn't, it wouldn't bend and morph like that. That's why my current feeling is that it's a physical morphing. Look at this comparison of the earlier shot and then the later shot. See, the notch is quite a bit bigger on the right. See, look at that. Look at how big that notch is. It's huge.
How can it not know what it is?
You can really see that crater appear and disappear. And look at the whole shape of his eye. I mean, it's not even human anymore. If you were to bring that same shape out into broad daylight where you could easily see it, I mean, you definitely see that there was something wrong. Oh yeah, Harrison, did you get stung by a bee or something? And you can also see on the hand too, those lumps. There's one up close. Get a little more blurring, but it's just another way to look at it. See, there's that crater shows up. It's like for just one frame. And you can just see the whole face it's morphing, it's churning. See, that notch starts to grow and the bump starts to grow. I mean, this is flesh morphing. Okay, so I'm going to spend a little time on this one because it's quite extraordinary. And to start out with, you'll notice some things in ghosting shots, which is like an echo frame or in-between motion shot. And that kind of looked like a talon to me. And make a note of this distance and the tip of the pinky, which doesn't seem like much right now, but as you'll see when I play it back and forward, you'll begin to grasp that it's really not normal. And in this shot, you'll see the tip of the fingernail just starting to develop, it looks like, because these changes happen so rapidly that you're not going to be able to make them out. And you see here what starts to look like claws, and you'll notice the odd shape to the flesh, and here I've been able to determine this is the area where the claws come out. And I would say it looks like he trims his claws, unlike Keanu. So you see, it looks like the end of it there, where he's trimmed it. You see that? You see that half circle shape? You see? it looks like he has these talons, these claws, but he trims them. And then here you start to see it, the flesh grow out, grow over it. But you can still see the tip of that nail, that trimmed reptoid claw. And it doesn't look like a pinky. It's like there's a bulb on the end there. It's like it's this flat shape that I've noticed in other reptilian shape-shifting incidences. You'll see it's like a flat, almost like a suction cup type of ending, and then you see bumps or ridges too quite a bit. Now what's interesting here is as the hand comes into the light, it's almost like the light causes it to return to normal. You see in there, you see a normal hand, but as soon as the light becomes a little bit darker, so that there, I suppose, is another argument for it being a hologram, because that's all the way light is interpreted, and that may be exactly what's happening. I'm not, staking my opinion on either one, because I just don't know what's going on. But I can say that one thing for sure is, whatever's going on, it ain't human. When's the last time you saw your hand look like that? See it, or it could just be that the light shines on it at that moment when it fully turns back to its human shape. So it's hard to say. But you definitely see that curved talon there, and it looks like it's trimmed. It's cut. You see there, then it starts turning back into the reptilian form, and as it goes into the light, it turns human again, and the fingernail is visible. See, it actually grows out, it seems like. This isn't science fiction. This is for real, and there's a scientific explanation for it. It's really happening. Question is, what is it? What exactly is going on? Okay, this scene again, and this time, watch Harrison's face for some extraordinary paranormal activity. If you look carefully, and I'll highlight this in a moment, you'll see all kinds of very strange things. You see that color change? Now look at the, it almost looks like a partial broken off horn sticks out, and that's what I'll show first. You'll see it there on the right. It looks like a partial, like a horn that was broken off. You see how there's like a broken thing sticking out there, like about an inch cylinder broken off at the top, and see how it sticks out like that. So it looks like it's kind of got 4 little bumps that stick up and like an indentation. It's really weird. And then look at this mouth. It really looks like a huge mouth, because what you'll notice in a further shot is how big these teeth are that are in it. And I think it's the reptoid mouth. It may be like this huge mouth. And I can't confirm that it goes all the way there in the shadow because there isn't enough to see. But judging from the size of the teeth, you'll see the lip. You see the lip there? And then you see the teeth. It looks like the teeth are about maybe 3/4 of an inch. And you see the lip. See that? It's just a little bit of positioning. I mean, it looks like, if you look at it there, it looks like he has this huge mouth. So that bottom part of his mouth is starting to transform, you see. Because you can definitely see this huge row of teeth. And then look at this discoloration. This discoloration is massive. It almost looks like a dark purple blue. You see his face is half and half flesh color, half purple. That's not a shadow. You see the nose sticking out of it and the forehead. It's like a partial blue shape, like a blue color. It looks really freaky. And also notice the eyes. It looks like, you know, these eyebrowless, weird little flesh curdled sockets. And there's also other weird things here. You'll see it looks like that Skeletor eye shape again. I think that's like the sunken eye. So one feature is that they have these sunken eyes. You can see it looks like his eye is sunken partially there. And it's hard to see the rest because it's partially obscured by motion. But you'll also notice there's no eyebrows, and there's this strange shape to the forehead that doesn't obviously match what Harrison Ford should look like, or his normal flesh should look like. And it's hard to see in the dark there, but it's brightened up here a little bit. But this eye socket looks this total strange creased crater shape. I'll go through the scene again, larger. Notice the thing sticking out of his forehead. Notice the huge teeth. Notice the discoloration. Notice the eye sockets. Notice the sunken and the no eyebrows. It's really weird. That thing sticking out of his forehead is just weird. It's like, why isn't there one on the other side? And you can also see little bumps sticking out everywhere. You know, the whole face is just starting to transform. See, it looks like a cookie monster. It looks like the Sesame Street Cookie Monster. I mean, God knows what this guy really looks like. I mean, it's just gnarly. I look at his forehead just totally transforms. And at the end there's like a little ghost shadow of something, but I can't be sure whether it's just motion. But I think also their foreheads show up a lot too, like this weird reptilian forehead. So look at that discoloration. It's like his whole face for a second there, and it gets dark, so it could, you know, you think that it could be because his head falls behind into the shadow, but you can see from that shot where the flesh color is mixed, it's definitely changing color. It's not the shadow. It's really weird. Look at this. Look at those teeth.
He said the sergeant shapeshifted in front of him, turned into a reptile.
Okay, and so here again is the Harrison Ford Horny Devil footage, and I'll go over it again because it's definitely worth going over. It's one of the most extraordinary shape-shifting events because the shape on his face is so unexplainable by anything that could possibly be camera shake or video anomaly or something else. I mean, and you really see the pattern. See, there's the big teeth again that may be similar to the Cookie Monster thing, and the no eyebrows, and that weird shape on his forehead. and it has a sort of weird demonic laughing grin to it. See, doesn't it look like he's laughing? And then his eye looks like this weird eyebrowless squinted hole. See, there's no eye in there. See that? And then that flesh shape on the right just sort of comes in.
How can it not know what it is?
And on several shots, he really does look like this grinning, laughing demon. And there's also a strange discoloration around his mouth, but it's harder to say. But the strange shapes in the flesh just can't be explained as camera shake or something else, because there's enough light and focus to see there's a definite shape there. And it's really weird. It's like the eye also is squinted, and here it's like the whole face is contorted into this weird sort of looks like a troll or something. And there's a definite shape above on his forehead, and it starts to come out, like it oozes out, and the eye and everything has a strange sort of shape to it. And it looks like here, almost looks like an ogre, And you see those two bumps that form out of it. It looks like a troll from Lord of the Rings. You see that shape, those little dots on the right there coming from his nose with that pattern of 3. And remember that this also turns into that thing where it looks like 4 spikes on the end. So why don't the spikes come out here more prominently? See, doesn't it look like he's sticking his tongue out? Look at that. It's like he's a demon with his tongue sticking out. And I mean, can you explain those shapes where his nose bridge is? I mean, you just can't. There's no reason why you would see this lump. And then here, it looks like there's multiple spikes coming out the top, and his eye has this weird sort of shape to it, and the ear even looks pointy. And it looks like he's sticking his tongue out all the time.
Their presence is there's such an evilness about them, and they want out of this other dimension.
How can it not know what it is?
And in this next frame in particular, just looks like a demon. See the way the horns on the sides, and that maniacal grin looks like your classic devil. And I wonder if this is an actual viewing of what people describe as devils. They're actually reptilian beings, and when they see them in hell, they're in spirit form. And I show the horned viper because that's what it reminds me of, those horns. And you see here the circle above Harrison's head looks like they're showing that he's like the crown royalty of dragons. See that? It's like his head is right underneath the circle of the dragon symbol. Looks like he's a royalty of dragons. And look at that. I mean, there's a definite pattern. You see there's a larger set of horns on the top and then smaller ones underneath. So it's like his face looks like a horny toad with horns sticking out of it. It goes back and forth here, and you'll see the horns underneath on the forehead are smaller. There's like 3 or 4 of them are smaller. And then like a larger set on the top. And that could just be only a partial, that probably is only a partial transformation. And in the full reptilian form, who knows how far those horns stick out.
I found out that the near-death experience was a ruse, that we're in a net, we're in lockdown. This is not about karma and reincarnation. They reincarnate. This interdimensional reptilian race keeps us in a cycle in the game. We don't get out. We're just cycled around and around. And then it turned out the three of them who were here at the time, reptilians, said, yeah, we were hiding in the house when he died, and we grabbed him, and we ate him. Other than the rapes, which are, they're collecting, rape is one of the ways they feed, by the way. They call that alien honey. When they're in the process of raping somebody, they are ingesting your energy in that form. They would also cut into his head. They put implants into his nose, into the sinus cavity, into his ears. They would, that way they could monitor or give him the visions and the voices that they wanted him to hear to keep him in this tied in with them state. They can manipulate his dreams, the dreamscape. Then they would also dig into his head. They would extract fluids, spinal fluids. They feed on different organs, body organs. They will use like almost the needles to extract. This is all astral. They extract fluids, body fluids. When they ingest people, they're not just eating meat. They are eating. What they're eating is there's memory in our bones. They ingest elements, emotions. All these different things. Otherwise, they could just clone and eat people. Clone and eat and clone and eat. But that's not enough for them. The human body, when they ingest it, they take in much of what we are, or aspects of ourselves, not our true spirit or soul, but they will absorb our essences. So it's not just meat to them. When they extract spinal fluids, which they do from a lot of people, if you have bumps or funny things going on behind your neck or in the back of your head, they sell that. It's synthesized and it is a drug. It's like their cocaine. They transport bodies, body parts, and astral humans to Mars and to Orion, and they traffic in these. It's a big, big commerce. We are their whole life. Orion, Mars, and which are their two main bases of operation. They come from Orion. Mars they own. They have huge detention centers and huge meat lockers. Most of the people who die are taken to Mars and they have hanging pens where they then kill them again astrally in these hanging pens. I think they probably are raping people while they're getting ready to be hanged, because that is tremendous fear, and they ingest that energy. They will torture little children in front of their parents so that they can get that energy. And there's no depths that this race will not stoop to. They have no compassion, cold, and vicious. That's what I say about them.
You also have a friend who you say has a reptilian inside of him.
This is the same man. He does.
Same man.
He got seated. Many people are seated. If he's described it as tentacles, almost like tentacles of thought, like these thoughts that are very negative, destructive, will almost like wash over you like a wave. And now he knows what's going on. He saw this thing in his astral vision rise up out of himself and look in his face one night. Very dark. And the ones around him that torture him every night also will put energy into the thing to try to help it grow. If you don't know, every major political, moneyed, power person on this planet has one inside of them. Almost virtually every one of them. I don't know if they're conscious of it, but I can hear it in their reversals. It comes out right away. We were recording, and the reptilian speaking on the tape said, "We made you cut. We wanted you to commit suicide." And that was a big wake-up call for her, because she realized this was not her, this was her being influenced by them. Because they've created debt. They've created this whole money system. And if it's wrong. It's wrong. Look at this planet. It is wrong. When I first heard that on the wedding of Charles and Camilla, when the reptilian said, "Yeah, I'm a wolf pig, but who's going to believe this?" It's such a bizarre story. Reptilians know our minds inside out and backwards, way more than we do. They're dreamscapers. They channel. They do, give us all kinds of visions. They dress up as angels, whatever. They don't want us to know that we are being eaten on the other side. That was the biggest secret. That was the one thing that you don't hear about, because they want us to be in the game. If we for one moment stop fighting each other and look to see who's pulling the strings, they would be out of here. They want war. They want manipulation. They want us fighting and arguing between ourselves. They don't want us to know that when you die, there's a very good chance that you will be eaten. You've got all these people abandoned in this gloomy, predatory world. They never see anyone leave, ever. They have children there. It's a prison state. They're attacked by demons, reptilians at night. They have that. And in the last couple of years, they're hunted for food now. It's gone from bad to a nightmare. They tried to tell me about these reptilian aliens, that they were very vicious. I mean, the reptilians were coming in, they were cloning them by the thousands and thousands. As a matter of fact, one of them told me that they were getting ready to invade New York.
So reptilians cloning reptilians.
Right, yes. And the ones that they clone are all, I think they're virtually all male. They told me they have an extra Y chromosome, which makes them much more aggressive. So I had hundreds of them here, literally. They told me they were surrounding me, and we're going to, next time you go to the dentist, we're going to put a virus in your gum, we're going to insert cancer into your womb, we're going to rape you, we're going to, it was on and on. They think they look down on humans. They think they're just retarded cattle. They're miserable. They're very unhappy. They don't like their lives. They're very controlled. They have hierarchies. They have to do what they're ordered. If they don't go along with the program, they're annihilated. They usually have their heads cut off. They have some regular births. Most of them now are clones. This is the first time I got what they do. We're going to keep these humans as slaves, and when we get tired of them, we're going to hang them and eat them. That was the first time I really got it, what this eating. This wasn't just about energy or sucking energy. This was about literally chopping them to pieces and eating them. They're all like this.
He's just as vicious and two-faced as
Yeah, they all are like this. This is basically their MO. And so when he sees the owl, which is the #1 metaphor for this reptilian group, he calls it the higher wisdom of the mind. When he sees snake and serpent as snake being deceptive, serpent being healing. I see it all as talking about these reptilians.